full episode of the Wild World of Outlaw. And today we're going to be showing you a little bit about how to clean a carburetor that has been on a Troy-built tiller for the last 30 years and is full of gunk and grime, and the parts are unobtainium without searching the evil bay and interwebs and all that jazz. If you come with me, I'm going to show you. We've already got the carburetor removed. You've seen that 100,000 times on about any small engine. They all come off the same. But as you see here, we've already changed the fuel pump, and the fuel pump wasn't the problem. We still have the original. We might go over how to clean that on a later episode. But that'll get you up to date where we are. We have removed the carburetor, and I will show you how to reinstall it, and you can go from there. But our first step is going to be, we're going to blast it with a little bit of carb cleaner here, and you got to be real careful. We're going to leave it complete, and we're going to blast her down and clean all the mud and the grit off of it we can, and hoping we soften these gaskets up, that if we can't remove them, we can at least reuse them, because finding a rebuild kit is almost slim to none. But we got to get all the dirt and the grit off the outside before we put it in our ultrasonic cleaner and soak it overnight. You very carefully take a brush and try to get as much dirt and rust and grit and debris off the body as you can. You just try to soften it up to enough that you can hit it with a little carb cleaner, but you don't fill it full. And my suggestion is that you put all the pieces that you take off back on as you can, so you don't lose them. As you can see, we just broke this gasket. Fortunately enough, this is a breather gasket, so we can either use Permatex or a piece of cardboard, and I can show you how to make a gasket. The two gaskets on the outside I'm not really worried about. It's the internal gaskets and the bowl gasket that has to be sealed. You have to seal the body gasket that connects to the tiller, but you can use Permatex for that. We'll lay that piece in a bowl so maybe we can fix it later. And now we're going to just remove the bowl. But we're not taking anything out of it. And we're going to soak this diaphragm gasket down. And soak your main jet down. And now we're going to soak the whole thing in the ultrasonic cleaner, just as whole as it is. That way we can hopefully soften everything up and get all the jets out. Looks like that jet might be made into it and not be able to be removed, but we'll work on it as we go. And tomorrow, after we've soaked it, we'll pull all the idle screws and the fuel screws out of it But as you'll watch, I got to get my mixture of two-stroke gas out of my hazmat container. The oil will help soften the seals as well. And we'll set this in and let it soak overnight. And when we get done, we can pour the two-stroke gas back in the jug and reuse it in an old chainsaw or something. And for you all, the viewers, as you can see, this is my homemade ultrasonic cleaner. It might take it a day or two, but we will get it there. We will get it clean and get it back together. Now, as for this goes, you'll see me probably in about 10.5 seconds, but for you, it will be, for me, it will be tomorrow evening after I get off work, or maybe the next day, depending on how fast we can edit the video. But for your sake, I'll see you in about 10.5 seconds. Welcome back, ladies and gents and boys and girls. I will tell you it was the next day, which should have been about 10.5 seconds for you. But unfortunately, we're like 3 days later. I won't lie to you. I won't do you like the rest of them do. Say, oh, it's the next morning. But anyway, trying to get my train of thought here where I was at. I got this old carburetor here off a Troy-built horse. And as you can see, we've just took it out of our redneck ultrasonic cleaner, and it's done a fairly good job. That two-stroke gas has cleaned a lot of bits and debris out of it, and it's sort of softened everything up, made it pliable. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this thing apart as best we can. And we got a part number right here on this carburetor. However, it's probably irrelevant because this original carburetor is most likely, unless you can find an antique dealer, is unattainable. So what we got to do is really carefully break this thing apart and clean all the important bits, leaving the most of it intact. The broke gasket here, I will fix it with some Permatex in the next video. Here and here, I will fix your gaskets, and I apologize for noise. I got people working next door to me. I don't have $1 million mansion and a $5,000 recording setup. I've got a cell phone and a glass table. I'm in Kentucky. You can forgive me. I'm not Uncle Tony. I'm not Vice Big Grip Garage. I'm just a guy trying to make you a video. Alright, you see in there you got the choke butterfly. We're going to leave all that in there if we can. But as you can see, this carburetor's still pretty gunky. But our redneck ultrasonic cleaner has seemed to do a little bit of a good job cleaning it up. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take, and so we know our rough guess is, I mean, I'm sure you can Google it and everything. We're going to turn each one of our screws, we're going to turn them in. There's 1, 2, 3 and a half. So now when I take this out and I put it back together, I know to run it down 3.5 turns. And then that way, run it all the way down and run it back 3.5 turns, and that puts it back to where it was. Because this was a running tiller, it just run crappy. And then we can get a fine tuning set. But we want to take this out so we can clean this. This here, I'm pretty sure, is an air adjustment. Now it's a fuel adjustment, but you see how gunky and carboned up that is? We're going to clean all that off. But now we're going to come over here to this screw. And this one on the side, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and about 3/4 of a turn. So we're going to back it out. Like I said, when we put it back in, we'll run it all the way down and then run it out 4 3/4 of a turn, and that puts it right back where it was. And now once I put the carburetor on, it'll probably run like an old rusty dog, but we can get a fine adjustment on it from there. And this is for somebody that say you didn't know how to Google all that. That's how you actually do it. Now you can Google it and get a factory spec on it. I'm sure somebody out there is going to tell you can get the factory specs off Google. Yeah, but we don't have Google right now. We're working in the woods. So now we come over here to this one. I'm pretty sure I got them mixed up. The first one was the fuel, and this one I think is the air. But we're going to turn it, and it's stiff, so it won't turn out. So we just run it all the way down. That's your fuel shut off, I think. Either fuel or air cut off. Either way, they're needle valves, and we got to get them out because we got to get them cleaned. When I picked up this tiller, it hadn't run in 10 years. It sat in my dad's garden. It was my grandfather's. And it had gotten a stuck valve, and my dad had let it sit in the garden for 10 years. You can see a little bit of the remnants of the dirt dauber nest. Okay. It had sat for the better part of 10 years, tires was flat and everything. I put a little 2-stroke gas in it when I got home, and she run great. So our next step's going to be, we're going to clean this out and clean those passageways out. And we're going to clean everything out as good as we can. So what we're going to do here, this is the fuel inlet. Clean that out, and about out. And it's alright, we can always use some PB blaster and stuff. Right now we're just trying to clean everything real good. This stuff ain't cheap. Like you never can. Alright. What we're going to do is spray all that out that we can. Unfortunately, I have another can that's got a little bit in it. About out on it too. Be alright. Be enough to get it back together. Oh yes, you did. hotter than the blue blazes out here. What we want to do, we're going to wipe this bowl out. And we're going to clean this bowl real good. And I suggest that you use fine grit sandpaper. I got $150 store right here. And people think you gotta eat out of these things. You do not. But you want them clean. Like so. We'll wipe her out with a rag right here. Clean the outside of it real good. Get any dirt, any grit off of it. Then we'll hit it with a now, as you can see, that bowl is pretty good. We'll give it all a final wipe down later. Now on these, you don't necessarily got to worry about the springs. They don't do nothing. What you want to worry about, and I can see through that, so that's pretty good. You can see through that one, it's pretty good. So these jets right here are pretty clean. But what we're going to do is we're going to very lightly clean the carbon and the gunk off of this jet right here. That's got a jet in it. Then we're going to look up here in these. There's jets up here too. I can see through them. All that is good. And what I'll do with this one, I'll wipe it down. Get her good and cleaned off there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my spring right back down on there. That way I know that spring goes with that needle. We don't need to mess with a float on it. And on this little bitty one, little teeny tiny one, alright, it's not got no jets in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe it down real good. Clean it. Clean the crud off of it. I'm going to hit it with a little PV blaster. And then I'm going to wipe it down again. You want to get the crud off of them. It's a lovely day outside today. And just like the other one, I'm going to take that spring. I'm going to put that spring right back down on there. And I'm going to put it in the bowl. And now this one here, it's a little crudded up on the outside of it. And probably not going to do much. But we got it out. So we're going to give it a little hit with some PV blaster. And on this one, I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going to brush them threads off real good. Get all that carbon and grit and grime. I call it carbon, but crud, whatever it is, that ethanol dried up. And now you see how much cleaner that is? It's got a little discoloration, but what can you do? And then, like I said, we don't need to mess with our bowl. I wished I had a rebuild kit where we could drop her in some acid. But what we're going to do is very carefully, if it'll come, and see what that two-stroke oil and that gas did. It's loosened that gasket up real. We really carefully want to see if we can get this loose. If you tire that, the job is done. You can't fix it. So what we're going to do is very carefully. We got it. We're going to pull this off real careful like. And you see how dirty and grimy that is? We're going to have to try to clean that out. And what I think I'm going to do is I think I am, just to show you, I'm going to pull the float out of it. And to do that, I'm going to need a pair of needle nose, which I don't have down here. I'm going to have to go up to the building and grab a pair of needle nose. So we're going to pause the video, and I'll be back at you in just about 5 seconds or so. Not even that long. It'll be a split second for you. Look at what that carburetor cleaner done to those gloves. Look at that. Junk. Junk. Cheap Chinese junk. I'll be right back at you in just a minute. Alright, so I went up to the building and got me a pair of needle nose, but what we seem to have here is this carburetor, this little pin right here is stuck, and it's stuck good. I mean, I'm not saying I can't get it out, but to do what needs to be done, it might be coming. Let me see here. I might have got it. Just messing with there. We want to try to get it out. You work it back and forth. Oh yeah, it's coming, but it's so cruddy up. There she comes. I thought we were gonna have to leave it in there, but alright. So what we're gonna do is we're going to pull it out. You pull this pin out very carefully. Like I said, ignore my neighbors over there beating and banging. We're going to leave it right there because we don't want to, you don't want to mess that up. This controls the level of fuel that comes into your gas or comes into your carburetor. If you need to, you can bend that tab to let more or less fuel come in and out. And it's good and dry after it is soaked. It's dry inside there, so we know that this float is good and solid. And we're not going to mess with it, because the only way you can fix these is either replace them with a plastic piece of junk, like if you replace the carburetor, plastic piece of junk, or you can braze these, solder them. You can silver solder them, and sometimes they'll work and stuff, but that is what a real float's made out of. They're brass, and when they're working right, they really do their job. They're really good. It's called pretty sure it's the needle and seat is what we call this. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this needle out. I dropped it. And as you can see, this little needle right here, this controls fuel coming in the carburetor or not. And if you ain't got enough float on it, it won't let fuel in, or it'll let too much in. Fortunately enough, ours is running correctly as far as that goes. It's never been messed with. It's just a little dirty. And what happens is that float, it sits right on this pad right here. I hope I'm in view. It sits right here on this pad, and this goes up and down, but you gotta remember it's sitting this way. So when this drops, the needle drops, lets gas in, and as it fills up, that closes, pushes this up and restricts the flow. And what we're going to do is so we don't lose nothing, we're going to lay this needle right in here in our little bowl of clean parts. Now, as you can see here, our bowl, or our carburetor, our body right here is really cruddy up from years and years of usage. It happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our best to give this a good cleaning. We're just going to clean the crud off of it as best we can. And then we'll start putting this thing back together. There is no pass or fail here, because this carburetor is so old that short of this, you're not going to get a decent rebuild kit for it, which means you're going to have to replace it anyways. And it's probably ready to be replaced. But some people don't have the money or whatnot to go out and replace it, and with common tools, if you can just give it a good cleaning and it works for you, then why not? This is takes you back to the old days, the run it hard Monday and Tuesday, break it on Wednesday and Thursday, and take Friday and spend Friday in the garage rebuilding it. But I'm going to take me a little bit of sandpaper right here, and I'm just going to get all this. I'm not trying to make it shiny. I'm not trying to get it to where I can eat off of it. In the old days, when you just run up and get a rebuild kit for this stuff, we'd pop all this out, and we would take it, dip it in carburetor acid, muriatic acid, and you'd soak it, and that was your ultrasonic cleaner. You dipped it in like a paint can with a basket. You had to get all your rubber gaskets and seals and stuff like that out of it, or they'd disintegrate it. But everybody's went to ultrasonic cleaners and replacing it instead of repairing it. We're going to try to repair this. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work. But what if it works great? I saved myself $30 on a cheap Chinese carburetor. And I got an all original. I'm going to do the fuel pump next. See what we can do for it. You want to be real careful getting around that flow there. You don't want to mess that up or fill it full of junk that you can't get out. Somebody getting on it up the road. Yeah, I'm liking the looks of that a lot better. But I want to hit this with a little PB. Right in here. So I can, I'm going to give it a little tap. I'm going to take my needle nose. Let me set this stuff back so y'all see what I'm doing here. Take my needle nose right here. I coated it in that PB blaster. And then I'm going to just want to grab the end of the pieces that stick out. And you want to work that back and forth. See, now I've already got that up. See how gunked up and corroded that was? Now we'll take our rag, clean all that car crud, that gas crud off of that real good. And then put her back in the hole. I'm gonna slide it back and forth. Just as a tickle. Now, at this point, for the sake of YouTube and time, I'm gonna put this back together because you've got the basics of how we clean it. You put your needle back down in there, and you're gonna set this. And what you're gonna do is you gotta be real careful, because you don't want to bend that and you slide that pin right back through the hole. Let it come out of it. And once you get it in there good, you take your needle nose and we're going to work it. We want to get it in here good. Whoop, too much. Right there is how you want that set. You want that about even on both sides. Now we got her float. And then what we're going to do, we're going to hit all that one more time. Hit it with a little bit of, I'm about out of gum out spray. We're going to set that to the side. Now we got this crudded up thing. But we're not going to clean it with carb cleaner. We're going to clean it with a little bit of PB. Put a little bit on there. And we got to be real careful with it. We do not want that to deteriorate or break or anything. You want to clean all that crud that you can get off of it. Just lightly do it. light. Sounds like my neighbors are really getting down. They're gonna jump forward. Nah, it'll be running some gun to get done with it. I have faith in it. But now, as you can see, it's got this little flap right here. Get these little notches. Them little notches go over your needle. So what you can do is lift your float up, slip that in there like so, and then you put that down in there. You want it set right there like it is, and you work it back into place. You gotta be real careful. You can even take, at this point, get it where it needs to be, set down on there, and then what we'll do is we'll take our bowl, get our bowl in there, see that, lock it right back down in place. You might have to work it a little bit. You can very carefully take your screwdriver, I mean very lightly take your screwdriver and ease it. Give me just a minute here. There we go. You'll know it when it clicks. You gotta get it right back down in that groove. This is something you want to take your time with, but you'll feel it. Just like a Ziploc bag coming together, you feel it pop. And just like that. And we've got it right back in place. We're going to go ahead and put our bowl on the bottom of it to hold it in place. Screw your bowl nut back on there to hold it. Now then, if you could give me just a second. Alrighty. My kid may come out here in a minute, so don't be alarmed if she does. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit a little bit of PB on them springs. They're old and rusty. We're going to slide the main screw back down in there. Screw it by hand as much as you can. I don't ever like to force nothing. But we're going to screw it down. We're going run it all the way in. That one was what, about 3.5 threads. So when we get ready, we'll back that out about 3.5 threads. Now, this one here goes right here. And we're going to run it all the way in. And I believe it was about 3.5 threads. And while we done got it in there, we're going to put a little PB on it. And then we're going to run it down all the way in. And we got one more screw here. We're going to go ahead and get it started. We're going to put it in. It don't matter what order you put them in. As long as you put them in. And on this one, I'm just going to use my screwdriver. Make it a lot easier to get it. So we're going to run it in, and I believe this one was 4 3/4. So we're going to run it all the way in. We'll run it all the way down. Now, all that is your idle, your fast idle. You can adjust that anywhere, but we're going to back him out. We're going to run him right there. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. About 3/4 right there. That's all that is a butterfly control. This one, 3.5. So 1, 2, 3. Right there's 3.5. We're going to go 1, 2, 3.5. And that puts it right back roughly right where it was when we took it apart. Like I said, this was running tiller, it just wasn't running right. Now with that we'll give it a good adjustment. Now, these butterflies are filthy, but I don't know that I can get them out. We're going to try it and see. I can't get them. Let me see. This other side looks alright. So I think right there will be our stopping point. And on our next episode of the Wild World of Outlaw, we'll try to get this put back on. Because I got to go get Permatex and stuff, but I'll show you how to put it on. And then we'll get it running. And you can see it run. This is the first time, to my knowledge, that this carburetor's ever been cleaned on that Troy-built tiller. And you'll forgive me for the vehicle traffic running up the road. As I said, I'm sitting outside on my front porch. Something people in Kentucky like to do. But that being said, we'll end this video here. We'll pick it up. We'll pick up on the next episode. I'll show you how to put that on. And if not, we'll be doing something. I'll show you how to change light bulbs in my tractor. Well, I've got an old truck I need to work on. But this will be a part 2. We will put it on and we will get it to run. This is how I done it when I was 15. It's how I do it now. Like I said, pass or fail. If it don't run, I can't get parts for it. I'll have to order one off of Amazon. I'll have to get a cheap carburetor to throw on there. I'll make a tiller run. But wouldn't it be something if I took this old junk, dirty carburetor that's missing, stuttering, sputtering, and carrying on, and I have the thing run like brand new. But that being said, I know the cleaning of it. A little bit of oil. Some people may never use the info. Some people may use it tomorrow. I know. I understand a little. But stuff like this, you got to take your time. You ain't got room for mistakes. And you hear my dog Dolly. Dolly barking in the background. She's a barking, carrying on her as mud on the planet Earth. But she's just a pretty little basset hound. But that being said, we're going to wrap it up for this episode. And this is the first full episode of the Wild World of Outlaw. I know I would have picked a better name, but you gotta have a name for your channel. It gotta be flashy, whatever, whatnot. But be that as it may, going forward, we're gonna get more interesting. Let's blow this channel out of the park. Let's make this channel something that nobody's ever seen before. And we might have us a little fun time doing it. Going forward, I'm gonna incorporate my family. My wife's got a YouTube channel. I forget the name. Kimberly AK, I think. I'm not sure. I can't check her out. She does a lot of home cooking and stuff like that. But we just decided we're up here in Kentucky and nobody really does this stuff. We want to show you some day-to-day real reality. I'm just a hard-working factory worker from the sticks, trying to make a living. I like having little projects. When we get this tiller done, I'm gonna be tilling a food plot. Don't miss out on that. I've never tilled a food plot before. Tilled many a garden, food plot's a garden. But gonna draw the deer in here. Hopefully get you some good shots of some deer later on in the future. We see them all the time in here. I'm trying to get a healthy stand of deer coming through here. Gonna be putting out a food plot. Gotta have the tiller to do that. And gonna be doing some dirt work with my tractor. I already been digging on my pond. Need to do a little work with it. Gotta do a little side dressing to show you some things you can do with a Massey Ferguson 1723E. And gonna be doing some work on my blue truck. Don't want to miss that. You know, I do crazy stuff, but at the end of the day, if it's cheap, done good, done right, and get you where you need to go, who cares if it's done crazy or not? Thank you for watching the Wild World of Outlaw, and we will see you next time.